What's going on is BF Nkrumah, and this is the Nkrumah Perspective, where I teach personal development and life skills through the lens of a Black man, helping other Black men move from victims of fate to controlling their destiny. Today, I am very, very excited. You know, one of the things that I do on this podcast and with all of my work is to get rid of stigmas, whether it's stigmas around mental health, around men crying, around men being emotional, around men going to therapy. I always want to break stigmas, in particular when these stigmas are keeping us from healing. So what I have the pleasure today, a stigma that we can break today, is men feeling like we can't learn anything from our women. That is a fallacy. Our women are a wealth of knowledge, and we need to learn from them. So with that said, I am bringing on somebody who I am very fond of, who I believe is a prolific thinker and necessary for our people today, Sister Radiah Rhodes. How are you? Did I say your name right?
You did. You got it. Perfect. I am very well. How are you today?
I'm excited. You know, the brothers from my book club are excited because your book was the last book that we read. So they're definitely excited to be able to watch this and actually hear from you because they loved it. It's challenging. It's definitely a challenging book. But if a book doesn't challenge you, it can't change it. If a book doesn't change you, what is it? You know, so just tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start right there.
Sure. So I'm a Jersey girl. I'm born and raised in New Jersey, right on the shore. I went to school in North Carolina and then moved to Maryland in around 2000, and I've been here ever since. I'm an engineer by degree, and I worked in corporate America for 20 years, doing different engineering, supply chain, manufacturing, and then eventually got into innovation, which opened up kind of my creativity, my creative side. And I found passion in that, but ran into just the toxic environment of corporate. Being a Black woman, it just wore me down. I heard somebody say once that what happens to Black men in the street is what happens to Black women in the boardroom.
Wow.
Right. And that just is thought provoking, whether I agree or not, right, in the comparison, but it's tough and it wore me down. And that sparked this love of personal development through that process. That's where I became really active and working on myself. And then I created a coaching company. And from there, I've been doing that ever since. I left corporate in 2017. I'm married. I have 2 children that are very active in academics and sports. So I'm living a dream.
I love it. I love it. So how I came across you, one of my favorite personal development teachers was Jim Rohn.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a quote that I read years ago that just spoke to me. And he said that it's not what you have to do to achieve success, it's who you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that quote, I was like, wow. And I tinkered with it for a long time, really just being. And I feel like one of the best compliments that I receive as an author and a speaker is when somebody says to me that I put into exact words what they were feeling and thinking that they couldn't. Mm-hmm. And I want to give you that highest compliment because I was tinkering with somewhat the concept of being is the new doing. Mm-hmm. But when I got your book, it's like you put into words to help me really concretize what I was thinking. Because I was talking about it on Instagram and one of my friends tagged you like, yo, well, I just read a book that's something about this concept, so you should get it. And so I bought it and I read it. I loved it. I bought it for my sister. I bought it for a couple of other friends. And then I made all the men in my men's group read it.
Thank you. I feel that because it's the same thing. Like for me, again, that personal development journey and hearing all of the quotes, reading all of the books, but not necessarily understanding how to apply it. Like what is, and having it be really insightful and inspiring, but not feeling that it was practical enough for me. And being an engineer and being a corporate person where, and a project manager where it's like you make things real. You have an idea, but it doesn't matter if you don't make it real. And so I had to find a way, and that engineering part of me just came through to be like, listen, how are we going to actually apply this stuff to my life so that the pain I'm in, the challenges that I'm struggling with, I don't have to deal with that anymore. I can actually move through it.
So how did you come to creating the concept that being is the new doing?
So I hit a 2-year period of time in life where I got engaged, I got married, I had 2 children, I bought and sold 3 houses, I moved job assignments 3 times, and I was just exhausted. And it was challenging and it was difficult. Marriage was difficult starting up, and certainly starting up marriage with 2 young children was difficult. And then having a high pressure corporate job. And I hit a low personally. I was depressed and I started to get physically sick. And I was talking to my father one day and he said, "Who are you?" And I didn't have an answer. I literally was like, "What do you mean? Like, how do you want me to answer that? What do you mean?" And I always say I knew what I wanted. I knew why. You know, this whole thing start with why. As Black folks, we ain't short on no whys. Like, I got a lot of
I
whys.
got that book over here. It starts with why.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of whys that are inspiring, but it didn't sustain me. So I had to answer the question who, and through prayer, through meditation, just kind of surrendering to the reality of my life and even just the emotions that I was dealing with. The answer that came to me was life-changing love. And it hit me like at a resonance place. I always say there's a level of truth in the spirit that's known by resonance. And it resonated in my spirit that was my truth. That's who I am. And it assured me that I was on the right path in terms of just letting go of a lot of the stress and the pressure and kind of exploring this question. So I answered the question and I started with these declarations. And I said, I am a woman whose relationship with my highest power is the number one thing in my life. I am a woman who takes care of myself, mind, body, and spirit. I am a passionate partner to my husband. I am a nurturing mother to my children. Like, I just kept declaring and defining. And it was a redefinition because I had never really thought about it. And as I answered that question, I became my most confident self. I became, like I said, assured and relaxed. And then I just was so much more powerful in hostile and toxic environments. So that let me know that it was not what I was doing, because I was doing the most and I had accomplished a lot, but I was still miserable and exhausted and sick. But when I tapped into who I was being, that gave me what I had been looking for and missing. And so I just kept exploring that and exploding that, and just documenting what that process was. And being an engineer, I'm on a spreadsheet. I literally filled all that out on a spreadsheet. Like, and then my business partner, Dr. Ronnie Ellington, who's a mathematician and a thought leader in education, worked with me to kind of create a curriculum around that. And really, we got it together in a process that we could teach people.
Yeah, so your story is like sort of kind of similar to mine. Obviously, we're operating real left brain, weren't really in our real creativity because I'm a finance major, and so when I went to college, I got enamored with Ray DeLeo of Bridgewater Hedge Fund. And so I wanted to own a hedge fund. I'm like, listen, I want to make billions of dollars running a hedge fund and not have to be a celebrity and nobody knows me, you know? So I went to school, graduated, got a job as an analyst. I'm moving up and I'm on the track. I'm like, listen, this is what I'm going to do. But I was miserable. I was miserable. And I always recount when I talked to my counselor about what major I was going to choose. And I talked to her and I asked her, I said, well, what can I do that I'm going to make the most money? And she was like, well, something in finance. Are you good at math? I said, I've been great at math my whole life. And I made a decision that had nothing to do with me. Because if I really look at who I am, being at a desk, that's not me.
Right.
I am an extrovert. Like, really understanding who I am now, I am most alive when I'm on stage with a bunch of people in front of me and I'm speaking. That doesn't fit with sitting at a desk all day with spreadsheets and crunching numbers. So it didn't speak to who I was. I want to ask you, so why is it so important for us to define ourselves?
Yeah, because it sets the lens through which you live life. right? So what I say is like there's a way that you're being. So one, there's who you are. And what I say is who we all are is divine creative intelligence and unlimited potential. That's who we all are, period. So think about that as the way you wake up in the morning, you wake up naked, that's who you are. Who you're being is the outfit you choose to put on and see and live in the world through. So are you putting on your workout outfit?
That's
Are you
good.
putting on your suit? Like what are you putting on? So knowing who you are, one, sets the stage to open up your possibility of life as broad as it can be, and basing who you are in that unlimited definition gives you every possibility conceivable. Then determining who you want to be sets the stage for the lens through which you actually live in that experience of life. So defining that sets the standard for how you engage people. It focuses on how you prioritize. It makes everything easier and fall into place. It allows you to respond to requests and demands from a place of groundedness and authenticity. It's right with your soul. You know, it says well with my soul. So you're living life from a place that's in alignment with you. That's going to give you your ultimate well-being, your health, your vitality, your joy. All of that comes from being in alignment. So if you don't, to me, know who you are in that unlimited view, and then choose to define who you're being from a conscious place, you will be at the effect of your life as opposed to the creator of it. And that's a painful place to be. You can muscle your way through it for a while, but eventually that runs dry and it becomes painful.
So to everybody that's always listens to the podcast or watch the videos, y'all know I talk about this all the time, defining yourself and creating your self-image. So she is just hitting the nail on the head with it right now. So one question that you asked that really hit me, because as somebody who does a lot of community work, a lot of mentoring, and a lot of helping other people, when you ask the question, where do you enter into the equation of your own life? I was like, woo. I was like, where am I? But just to read the rest of it, she said, how do you own your life instead of doing so much to earn it? To be clear, action is absolutely necessary to make progress, but endless effort focused on things you have small connection to does nothing but drain you and pull you out of alignment from the life you want. Can you speak to that real fast?
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, it's about, because I've defined who I want to be. And let me be clear, when I define who I want to be, it's not that I am definitive forever. I'm just saying at this season in my life, at this point, this is who I want to be. And I live into that. And I reconnect with that every 90 days. Literally every season, I'm redefining who I want to be in this world. That definition, everything gets sourced from. So everything that I do, I am doing from first defining who it is that I want to be and what I'm up to in that season. Who I know I am is life-changing love and this unlimited definition. So I'm going to show up and be impactful. It's not a place that I'm going to go that's not going to have a positive impact inside of the passion and the light that I uniquely bring. Because that's what I have honed my focus on. I've focused on going inward and connecting to that and then living that outward. So it's just a matter of you really getting grounded in who it is you want to be. What are you up to from a place internally? And then for me, it's all about well-being. I can quickly see something and know, does this fit and align with who I am and who I want to be? If so, yes. Does it fit with the time, the way I want to structure and live into my time schedule? Yep. Okay, great. So it's very easy for me to choose and determine what I'm going to focus energy on and not. And it's not a protecting. I don't even get into that energy. I just choose because I'm so assured and grounded in who I am and that broader definition. And then every season I am focused and I prioritize determining for myself who I want to be. And I trust that.
So as you're determining as we are determining who we're going to be, you also talked about owning who you are, and I love this part, owning how you show up. That spoke so many volumes to me. So what can you explain that, and what is the process of actually doing it? how do we begin to own who we are and then how we show up in different spaces?
Yeah, I'll tell you what my partner always says. You be straight and you take what you get. I'm gonna sum it up in that. So you be straight, which means you go out there. Once you determine this is who I am, right? For this season, this is what I'm up to, like the goals I have, the things I want to impact, what I want to experience in my life. And we do it inside of a game, right? So we literally create a game every 90 days. And we say, this is the game I'm playing this 90 days. Once you determine that, then you show up straight. Like you put that on the forefront. You're transparent. You're communicating with people. I am taking certain actions in alignment with that, right? So I'm just playing my game. And I'm being very straight about my game and transparent with the people around me, with myself. Then I got to take what I get. Because when I'm engaging the world in that way, people are going to feel a way and they're going to respond. And when they respond, I go, okay, what part of their response do I want to be responsible for or not? And what part of their response is theirs to own, but maybe I'll support them in something. So I just be straight about who I am, what I'm up to, and what game I'm playing. And then I take what I get with the power of being assured and responsible and accountable.
Being such a student, sometimes it's hard interviewing people when they're teaching, because I get in the student mode and I'm listening, I'm learning, I'm processing. I'm like, well, I gotta go back to another question. Woo. All right, so we're defining ourselves. We're making sure we know how we own ourselves and how we show up. Now let's get into your equation. I think this is very, very popular. Between the equation and the scale. We're not going to have time to get into the scale today. Maybe we could do this at another time. But between the equation and that scale, first let me say what you did with that scale was so amazing. To not only just create a scale from the bottom to the top, or the lowest energy to the highest energy, but talking about these are the type of thoughts that you would have in this space. This is what you will feel in your body when you're in this space. I just want to say what you did with that was amazing. Was really amazing. So let's get into that equation. What is it? R squared
to the power of, look, let me grab the book.
Yeah, I see the B is up a little bit, so I'm like, I'm used to seeing, so R to the power of B plus do equal half.
Exactly.
Okay,
so
okay.
You know the concept of be, do, have, right? Where most people are have, do, be, like, or do, starting with do. We're basically saying you want something and you start doing a whole lot to try to get it, right? Forgetting about your beingness. And the being is just like the full energy of how you show up, of your consciousness around the physiology in your body, the thoughts that go through your mind, the actions you're taking, the way you're interpreting the emotions that you have. Your beingness is your existence. It's the conscious existence of this physical, alive world you're in. Being conscious of that. Beyond just your brain, there's a spirit component to it that is like this field of energy that you are, is being conscious of the whole picture of it. And so what I'm saying is that that's where you start. Don't start in the doing a bunch of stuff, mindlessly doing. Don't start in, oh, I want this, I want to get that, I want to get, like you said, I want to make the most money, right? And then that took you out of yourself and then led you down a path totally devoid of like the truth of what you needed in this life. So start with who you are, that field of unlimited potential and possibility, that energy, becoming conscious of that, watching and observing yourself around sensations that come through you, emotions, things like that. When you raise that to the power of who you choose to be and then apply action to it, that is when you have whatever it is you desire. So you start and it all grounds in who you are as the base, and then it gets raised to the power or lowered, right? If you're on those low, if who you're being is at that low end of the intention scale, like suffering and struggling, then your whole, what you have is always an exact match for that. You know, I always say, if you want to know how you're living, if you want to know who you're being, look at the results of your life, because they are an exact match for who you're being and how you're showing up.
And it's so important when we're understanding who we are, and most importantly, making sure we define ourselves, because that definitely changes the results that we can receive. So I need to get back to it right now, but I'm a runner.
Okay.
And because I'm a runner, a lot of times, like once I start running, 3 weeks in, I'm doing 10 miles.
Wow.
12, 13 miles. That's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of other people who don't consider themselves runners, they be like, I struggle to do 1 mile. But I have in my mind, this is what I do. I've ran half marathons. I want to run the full marathon. Now, this is where I'm struggling, because that 26.2, I got to get my mind to believe I'm that. I haven't gotten to being a marathon runner yet, but that's my goal. But because of who I believe I am, who I am, I just do it. And it's not because I'm doing busy work, or it's not because I'm running. I'm just being myself. Mm-hmm. And the behavior, the actions, and the results come simply from me just being me. So another thing we talked about was owning your time.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, and how do we actually begin to own our time?
Yeah, so for me, my schedule, so humans create in real time and space. So we have all kind of intelligence, we have all kind of ideas, all kind of energy as human beings. When we want to create something in the physical world, we use time and space to do that. We take action, we have conversations, we engage people, we devote energy, in a specific time and space to actually transmute or turn something from an idea into reality. So it's important that you are consciously choosing to spend the same 24 hours we all have in ways that serve who you are, what you're up to, and what game you're playing, what you want to create. So based on that, I set my schedule. I know what works for me. I know how I want to wake up in the morning. That's key to how I set my energy. So I have a wake up routine. It involves sweating, which is usually a workout. It involves a shake, which is a protein, and it involves sitting still. I know some form of that every morning is what's going to set me up at the highest intention level, and it's going to start me on the day to success. I know that having back-to-back meetings doesn't work for me. I know that it just doesn't. It's, and back-to-back.
There's going to be a lot of people that felt that right there.
And because that's what everybody's going back to, and especially with Zoom, at least before you may have had to get up and go to another conference room or something. Mm-hmm. Now you can just log out and log right back in. So I don't like back-to-back meetings. I know how I feel. I just know that physiology, and so many of us are so disconnected from our physical body, but mm-hmm. I know my physiology and what activities elevate that and what activities diminish and drain it. So I really look at my time every day, every week, and I structure it so that it gives me the best experience of life, the highest quality of vitality, and the most impact that I can have. It has to work for me because I'm up to something big, right? I'm up to getting people into this game that I'm talking about, where being is the new doing. And for me to be able to have that effect, it's a new conversation in a lot of places. It's an abstract conversation to some people, or at least at the beginning. For me to have the effect I want, I have to use time, that resource, very wisely. So I own it. If my schedule looks crazy for more than a week, I immediately am saying, okay, we're going to cancel this, reschedule this. I'm very transparent and upfront. I'll say, hey, can we do this? I made a mistake on looking at this meeting. So can I move this, or I have no problem with moving around time, communicating around any conflicts, to make sure that the structure of time that I use serves what I'm up to.
So you talked about your tennis time. And I thought it was so profound to actually recognize that, and making sure that in owning your own personal time, you're scheduling that time for you. Because if we don't do things for us, this is one of the ways that we burn out. Mm-hmm. We're even if we're doing, some of the things that we love to do. In particular, obviously, you and I are both empaths. We want to help mm-hmm. other people. So yes, it feels good for us to help other people, but when you're pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring and not receiving, you have to find something to actually replenish that, or something that just feels good to you. So how do we become aware when we're valuing things, as you put it, over your own freedom?
I mean, one, your body's going to tell you. Your life and your body is going to tell you, because there are going to be there's going to be a lot of conflict. There'll be a lot of struggle. You're going to find a lot of frustration. Physically, you're going to feel tired. You literally, your experience of life, in your body transforms when you start being aligned with yourself. And it's important to know, like, the concept of pouring, pouring, pouring. I'm not pouring. I'm being. I'm living.
Thank you
So
for correcting me.
because pouring, you're going to get empty. And that to me shows a disconnect between, one, me and kind of myself, because there's the greater me, the capital, right, ME, my spirit, and then there's the personality, me, my ego, that self. So there's a disconnect between those two. When I'm pouring, 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 I'm operating in the ego self, thinking I got to give to somebody else. When I'm in the spirit, I know that if I live in alignment with my spirit, there is a natural impact to others in the world. That's how we are wired and designed as a connected human race. So I don't fear or am not concerned, or I don't disconnect who I am from the impact that I have in a doing mode. There's nothing I need to do for anybody. I only need to be in alignment, be clear about who I am as that highest version, be clear about who I want to be, because my spirit is telling me, Radiah, this is the season. Right now in this first quarter of the year is about play for me. The game I'm playing is about wonder, awe, and play. And and I trust that. So the actions I take, it's about just seeking new things, exploring, being like in awe and acknowledging and celebrating the miracles that I see happening every day in my life, and playing, relax, let go, and have fun and laugh and joke. That's what it's about. So I bring that to everything, to my work, to my parenting, to my relationship, my marriage, all of that. That's who I'm being. And then I'm being very straight about that, and I'm taking what I get. So that's how I own it, right? Whatever comes back, people be like, oh, you're joking too much. Is that how you feel? Why do you say that? I just get curious. Why do you say that? And I learn from that, and I take that and I move forward in a responsible way. And then once that season is over, I will have had a great impact during that time, and then I'll move into a new season. We ain't got to do the most. We really don't, but we're so ego identified, because that's how we've survived, that it's a process to transition from that personality based driver, right? The subconscious version of ourselves that we've created in response to challenges in the world, as opposed to the spirit that we are. That's the transition. That's the being. That's why being is that spirit self, and then doing is that personality.
Whew.
It gets it, right?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So let's real quick talk about B printing. You said I define, design, strategize, and plan out my being, and then let go and live my life on my terms. First off, if you look at my book, I have notes and everything everywhere, all throughout the book. The note I wrote when I read this, when I first started getting into the B printing, before I hit the scale, was, who am I going to be today? Who am I? It made me very. I'm already intentional about things that I do, but I don't think until I read your book I was as intentional daily, if that makes any sense. Like, I knew what I wanted to do in the grand scheme of things, and I was being, but I wasn't every day making sure. So that's what it was. Because you talked about the check-in, right? So I wasn't always checking in to make sure I was still being, and sometimes I got lost in the doing.
Yes.
So when I started looking at the scale, and I taught through the book in our book club, really looking at the scale in every single area of my life, So in one area, I might be sovereign, but in another area, I might be struggling.
That's it.
So every day, wherever I'm flowing in life, now I have to check, all right, who am I being in this relationship? Who am I being in business? Who am I being when I'm coaching? Who am I being as a father? Who am I being as a son? And every day choosing, all right, this is who I'm going to be every day.
Yeah.
And it transformed life for me. It definitely helped me to really be in line with who I said I was and not getting off track. Because every day I have to ask, I got to wake up. Because you talk about the wake up routine. Steve Harvey tells this story. I'm not going to tell the story because it's a little bit long. But when he gets to the end of the story, it's this guy that's trying to teach him about success.
Yeah.
And the guy was calling him early in the morning. And when Steve finally got it together, he said, now you can be successful because you've learned how to wake up.
Yes. Yep. I know
and so that's something that ever since I heard that story, I've been talking about that, learning how to wake up. I've been living that. And with your book, with this whole idea of who am I going to be today, that's a part of my wake up.
I love it.
That's a part of my process.
Before this call, I took my intention check, right? I just checked in for the week. You know, I know who I am, what I'm up to, what game I'm playing. And I'm like, okay, as it relates to the game I'm playing, wonder, awe, and play, right? What is my intention level? And it was at striving. So now I'm aware. And I said, okay, I just want to move to seeking. So let me just open up and be curious. Let me just bring on a curious, let me just move to the next thing with a curious attitude, a curious energy. And then right from there, my intention level moves up. And then I just engage. I'm like, I can't wait to have this conversation with Nkrumah because we're just meeting, right? I just want to know, what's this conversation going to unfold? That's a curious space. It elevated my intention just like that and totally shifted the way we have this conversation. Striving to be in conversation with you would be a totally different conversation than me just seeking and being curious, right? One level up on the intention scale. So it's important. And really, you know, a lot of it has to do with, again, that disconnect that we have with our bodies. You know, we fall asleep and we get enamored with doing the most and trying to prove ourselves, trying to convince people of stuff. And we are so far away from the, like, I want to say magic and mastery that we are. We are dope. So if we can just live from that place, but it's challenging, right? Because the world, life is going life. I always say people going people and life is going life. And as a human being, we're going to react to that based on past traumas, all of that, and then get lost around who we are and who we can actually be in the moment. The scale is to just remind us quickly, like, who are you being right now? What is that energy? What's the experience you're having of yourself? And what's the energetic you're putting out into the world? Is that who you want to be? Is that serving what you ultimately want to experience in life and what you want to create with yourself and the people around you? And if the answer is no, then you can say, okay, how can I shift this? If it's yes, then keep it moving.
And when we talking about attention and that magic, and also, you know, us like being on autopilot or just beginning to do and not being focused. One of the things last year that I go down rabbit holes. So I will listen. I will get an idea in my head, and then I just get enamored with it. So I got enamored with neuroscience. So I think I read psychocybernetics. I read psychocybernetics, and then this is what my good bad habit is. Whenever I'm reading a book, whatever books they mention, I go buy those books. So by the time I finish a book, I bought 5 more books. My Amazon account is crazy. Somebody take this account from me.
I see both of us with the books in the background.
Listen, and this is not even the half of it. Oh my goodness, I got boxes of books. So I start going down this whole neuroscience thing, trying to understand the brain, and then I read The Body Keeps the Score, and so that had me on the physiology, a rabbit hole, but how those things connected, but really how your intentions literally can change your makeup, can change your DNA, can change what's going on in your subconscious to create habits that you aren't even trying to do. So it's like I can program my subconscious to lead me to success, which have a class on that I teach on how to become a success magnet.
Uh-huh.
Because if they say you only use 10% of your brain, but the thing is 10% is only your conscious brain.
Yes.
The rest of it is you got to understand your autonomic nervous system. You have to understand the parasympathetic system, your reticular activating system, your enteric system. You got to understand all of these subconscious things that are going on that you can actually program.
Mm-hmm.
And by so when you get on autopilot, you're still being, or you're still doing what it is that you want to do, or leading you to where you are trying to go subconsciously. So something that you said that jumped out, and I want you to explain it. I got it, but I didn't get it. So I want you to go a little deeper for me. You said you don't have intentions, you are an intention.
Yes.
And I said, wow. All right. I said, I see where she's going. But I'm glad I got you here. Can you go in a little more detail on that? How am I an intention?
Yeah, so most people use intention to determine, they actually are replacing the word goal or objective, right? Like, oh, I set my intentions today, or purpose, I'm being intentional. And I say, no, when you use intention in that way, what you're really saying is I have an objective that I want to accomplish today, or this is my goal for the day, or I'm really going to focus on something. That's what you're saying. Intention in the way that we use it is the sum total energy of who you are being. And it encompasses not just the conscious, but that subconscious that you're speaking of, right? So when we think about, first of all, humans are always intentional. Intention is the organizing and creative energy that we have as human beings. And human beings are always creating. We're never not creating. We're creating a story, we're creating a dream, even when we're asleep. So you are always intentional. You just aren't aware of your full intention. That's why people say, oh, I didn't intend for that to happen. Yes, you did. You just weren't aware of the part of you, the subconscious part of you that was playing into your energy, that was affecting or undermining the result you created. So you are an intention, because as a human being that is energy that is always moving, you are always creating something. And intention is the organizing creative energy of the universe. So given that, you're never not intentional. The question is, how aware of what intention you are you? So are you struggling? Because when you're suffering, I can't come to you like, oh, you suffering for something. And I can't come to you talking about, oh, what about let's go create this. You'd be like, what? I can't even get through the day. You know how many people I talk to? It's like, well, what do you want? That's not even the highest level of intention. Wanting is a level 1, right? Or level 2. I'm like, what do you want? They're like, I don't know. I just do what I got to do. I know. So the intention that you are is governing what you see for yourself, what options are available to you, how you can solve any issue or challenge. It is literally the lens through which you are living, totally. And you're not always aware of it. When we say I have an intention, that's, to your point, that's that conscious part. But there's a whole unconscious world of intention that you are and that you're being and putting out into the world. That you're knowledgeable. You're not conscious of.
Okay, it clicked all the way for me. It clicked all. I might have to start sending you like a monthly stipend for teaching some of the stuff I learned from you. So, just a couple more things. I know you got to go. You talked about recognizing the patterns of who you've been. So, since being and doing aren't actually the same thing, is it safe to say that just because you've been doing something or doing a particular thing for a long time, that it doesn't mean that that's necessarily who you are?
That's it. I just got chills. Absolutely. And that's so important. It's so important when you think about anybody, any of us, the identification, like the inability to distinguish what we do from who we are, is what keeps us locked into the same patterns often. Because we believe and you're not even who you were, right? Like, even so, who I've been in the past, that's not who I am. One of the things that human beings have is free will. In any moment, we can determine who we are. We get to say who we are. We are not defined by what we do, even though that's a lot of people say, you do it long enough, then that becomes who you are. That might become how people know you,
Mhm.
but you still always have the choice to say who you are. Always, as long as you are breathing air, as far as I know, you have the choice in a moment to show up in any way you choose. Now, there's a lot of mental, right, challenges that sometimes put a block on that. Like I said, when you're in a suffering mode, you may not see the possibility of who you can be or how you can show up in a moment. That's where it becomes important to have connections with people or structures that remind you of the greatest version of yourself, so that when your personality, when you lose that sense, it can be restored. But you are not who you've been, and you are not what you do. You are a human being who has divine, unlimited potential and possibility, connected to an intelligent source that can create from its intention in any moment, period. If you tap into that consciously, everything changes.
One of the things I learned on my neuroscience rabbit hole. I
Hmm.
was reading all these brain books, and I got this book called The Brain: The Story of You, and it was talking about brain cells. Like your skin replenishes itself, your nails, your hair, all of this. And he's
Hmm.
talking about how your brain cells do the same thing.
Hmm.
I think he said like every 8 years, like all of your cells regenerate, and your neurons and your mental pathways are created by something that's called a synapse, and it's just what you put
Hmm.
your energy in. And the more you put your energy to it, the more the connection deepens. And what I was getting from it was, if I'm intentional about new information and being a new person, then in 8 years, my brain literally looks different.
Hmm.
It talked about people who, like myself, I like the violin. Playing the violin does something to a certain part of your brain that actually makes that part of your brain bigger.
Hmm.
For only using this one hand so much, or playing the piano does something to both lobes. Or they did a study of the brains from the London cab drivers. I don't know who would ever want to be a cab driver over there. You got to remember every street and all those, but it's whatever. So the part of your brain where it holds memory, those people's were actually bigger
Hmm.
than the average person. So literally, if I work on my intention of who I'm being, who I want to become, in
Hmm.
8 years, if you look at my brain, it will look like a different person.
Absolutely.
So I'm literally not who I was. Like this isn't even the same brain. You can't call me the same person. My
Exactly.
cells regenerated. I have different synapses. I've closed neural pathways to my old ways, and I've opened up neural pathways to my new ways. And now, literally, if you look at a scan of my brain, it doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
And
And I love that so much because it speaks to the practicality. When we make all these statements like, well, just be authentic or just be yourself or just be this, when we hear all those um, cliches, it seems abstract and mystical. But what you're talking about is the science of it. And literally, right, just opening up for people. No, this isn't just a mystical, spiritual conversation, it's a scientific conversation. But I always add back, it is also a spiritual conversation because we are not our brains. I think it's Gary Zukov that says authentic power is bringing the personality into the service of the soul. So think of the personality as your brain identity, that bringing that into the service of the soul. That to me, that's what came up when you started to speak about how if you shift your being, it literally will rewire those neural pathways in your brain. Your cells are regenerating. You will literally be a new person, physically be a new person. And your spirit is in that being sense. So you get to choose, like you said, consciously in the spirit, you get to make a choice to become someone new. And you can start that immediately. That's an instant transformation that
mhm,
then you live into daily. And then over time, the physical transforms scientifically to align with that.
definitely.
Yeah.
So, final words. What words would you have for people who are struggling with doing, and they keep hitting the brick wall in life? What would you tell them the first step would be for them to start being and not just doing?
You just got to let go. Like I think I said this in the book, where like it's literally stop doing. I always say the answer is going to be the answer. It's just our comfort level or discomfort with the answer. So the answer is the same. Stop doing the most. Look at the schedule, look at the receipts, look at your bank account, look at your schedule and your calendar, write down your thoughts over a few days. And that's the doing that you're doing. Look at that and start letting those things go. If they're not serving you, if they're bringing grief, let them go. Now, some people say that's easier said than done, right? I worked a 9 to 5 for most of my life, and I had a family to feed. I still knew that the answer was to let go of that 9 to 5. So that meant I had to reach out and connect to people, but it started with me telling the truth about all the things I was doing and what things were working for me and what things weren't. And then being willing to say, I am no longer going to do the things that are not working for me. And in concert with that took for me to build my spiritual connection, my spiritual understanding, because I needed to be able to trust and know that I was coming from a place that was grounded in spirit, that was grounded in what I believe is the goodness and the truth of who I was. So start with just that combination of looking at the receipts of what you're doing and identifying what works and what's not working for you, and make the choice for yourself to say, I am not going to live a life that does not serve my spirit, doesn't resonate with me, that doesn't bring a goodness, a joy, that fruit. Then from there, start that plan, connect to people, put a structure in place, whether it starts with that wake up structure that actually is going to help you start to live in alignment with those choices you made, what you're going to focus on and what you're going to let go.
Well, there you have it. Listen, I'm not even going to say if you enjoyed this. I know you definitely enjoyed everything that this sister was dropping. Make sure you go out and get a copy of Being is the New Doing. I'm telling you, it's a phenomenal book. I know mostly men listen and watch this, but like I said, our men's group had to read this and the men loved it. So Radiah, let the people know where they can get you at, and if you have any openness for them to work with you if they would like to.
Sure. So I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram as Radiah Rhodes. My company is Evoke Life, EVOKLIFE. We're at evokelife.com. We run every month. We'll be opening back up in February. We run a 90-day program called the Evoke Game Plan, which basically is the structure that delivers on exactly what we just talked about. Mm-hmm. If you want to become new, then let's take this 90 days in the process, the bee printing process, that structure, and actually work you through that transformation. So that's how we work with people. We just started with over 70 people just in January, and I'm so excited and honored to actually facilitate people's transformation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming on and dropping all of those gems. I look forward to doing something with you in the future because I believe in everything that you are doing. Everybody, I'm going to be live every Tuesday with Ask BF on my Instagram, and we always have this podcast every Wednesday. We didn't get a chance to do this one live for you guys, but that's all right. She dropped all the gems that you need. Make sure you follow Radiah Rhodes. And if you're not already following me and you're watching this on YouTube, follow me at BF Nkrumah, BFNKRUMAH. And brothers, we are going to continue to do this work so that we can be unstoppable.